And next I will welcome on stage Inga Šteingolde from National Archives of Latvia. I hope I said it right, yeah. Inga started her career as a book conservator, and since 2011 she has taken the role as a head of preservation department at the National Archives of Latvia. She also serves as a lecturer for students, restorers, and cultural heritage professionals, giving talks on preservation and emergency response on paper and other similar materials. And today she will talk about Venetian sunk panel binding. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues, friends, and participants of conference. I will be presenting for our team today, and as you see, we are five specialists from 4 institutions. So it's our co-work. And Baiba is like owner of this panel binding and did historical research. Indra and Anastasija from National Museum of History did polychromy research. I did paper and leather research, and I'm from National Archives, and Iveta did conservation, and she's from National Library. So it's, we are very happy to be together in such a team for this work. So today I'm honored to present our interdisciplinary research and conservation project carried out in 2025. This study focuses on a visually stunning, richly decorated document cover from the Latvian National Museum of Art. And it was a result of a fruitful collaboration between the National Museum of Art, Palazzo Madama in Turin, the Marciana Library in Venice, the National Archives, National Library, and National History Museum of Latvia. The object in question is a document cover that at first glance suggests a prestigious 16th century Venetian sunk panel binding with 2 coats of arms on covers. The inscription Benvenuto Ferravi possibly indicates its owner. However, the physical object carries markers of a more modern history. If we look closely at the flyleaf, we see inscriptions and stickers that document its journey, specifically a label confirming it was accepted and included in the state property in 1919 by assigning the number 1677 to it. It entered the museum collection in 1920. The earlier owner remains unknown. Initially assumed to be a 16th century binding, the object underwent comprehensive analysis to determine its stylistic, material, and historical authenticity. The polychrome, ornamentally rich decoration of the fine leather document cover stylistically seems to correspond to the late Renaissance Venetian bookbinding traditions. This duality between its Renaissance appearance and its 20th century documentation prompted further investigation. Was this really a rare survival of the 16th century? To resolve this, research was guided for 5 clear objectives. First, to analyze the decorative finish and its historical context, to identify the heraldic symbols and the structural type of the binding. Third, to conduct a deep technical study of the polychrome layers, the leather, and the paper fibers. To determine the absolute authenticity and dating of the artifact. And finally, to provide the necessary conservation to ensure its long-term stability. The symmetrical cover's decorative composition is dominated by rich polychrome decoration. A golden background is covered with a delicate interweaving of flowers and leaves in red, green, and black tones. The sunk panel style, known in Italian as legatura e cassettoni, is an architectural approach to bookbinding. It isn't just a flat surface. It is a three-dimensional construction. To achieve this, 2 layers of cardboard were used. The top layer was intricately carved to create the cassette or recesses. Then this leather was stretched and molded over this relief. So this technique creates a play of light and shadow that was highly prized in Renaissance Venice. The iconography points to a Doge commission. However, such bindings were also used for documents related to public appointments. On the front of the binding, we see the lion of Saint Mark in the in Moleka position, with frontally spread wings and a book in its paws. On the back, we find the blue and red shield with a golden dragonfly. Venice's craftsmen used varied methods to make these bindings of orders into a symbol of the recipient's social status. To determine the heraldic affiliation, the museum consulted with the Biblioteca Nazionale Marciana in Venice. Their experts confirmed that this is indeed the coat of arms of the Valoroso family, and based on its stylistic features, they initially concluded that the binding is most likely an authentic 16th century work. This expert attribution gave us a very strong starting point for our further scientific analysis. Despite this strong stylistic evidence and international expert confirmation, the museum moved from the library to the laboratory. They needed to understand if the chemical DNA of pigments and the fibers truly matched the 16th century workshop traditions, or if they belonged to a different area entirely. Working with polychromy experts from the Restoration Department of the Latvian National Museum of History, non-destructive methods were used. 17 strategic points across the surface were mapped. As we look through the spectra, you will see the complex chemical signatures recorded by the museum's experts. Please note the high peaks of copper and zinc in these graphs. The spectroscopy confirms the use of a bronze alloy, often called false gold. This is where the timeline really began to shift. The team was looking for natural minerals like azurite. Instead, as you can see in these peaks, they detected elements like barium and zinc. The presence of these specific elements across various points indicated that these were not later repairs, but part of the original integrated decorative layer. The leather was originally coated with a yellowish binding layer, over which bronze leaf was applied. This was then covered with a varnish layer containing natural resins. Today, the surface shows uneven corrosion products containing copper and zinc salts, while the presence of gold or silver has not been confirmed. The relief decoration of the coat of arms side is made of gypsum and covered with a thin paint layer. The ornamental design was applied with a fine black ink line and further enhanced with red semi-transparent and green opaque paints. Pigment analysis revealed that the red contains an organic pigment, while the green consists of green earth mixed with a yellow barium-based pigment, specifically barium chromat. In the coat of arms, the blue and red paints were identified as synthetic ultramarine and cinnabar. Finally, what appears to be dirt in some areas is actually a low viscosity green paint. The same material was also used along the edges of the cover and is visible on the inside along the pasted paper margins. When evaluating the results of the polychromy analysis, we unfortunately have to conclude that the coating most likely dates to the 19th century due to the presence of barium chromat in the green paint, a pigment first identified in 1809. While the use of materials such as ultramarine, gypsum, cinnabar, green earth, and even bronze leaf can still be open to interpretation, the presence of chromat-based pigments leaves little room for debate regarding the dating. Attention should also be drawn to the artificially created effect of dirt and wear. This was achieved by the uneven application of the dark green paint layer, intended to imitate the related surface degradation. Now we moved on to the part of the project where I was directly involved as the specialist responsible for leather and paper research. Starting with the leather, our microscopic examination confirmed that the cover is made of goat skin by the characteristic grain pattern. However, unlike the chemical and paper analysis, the leather study did not provide a clear answer regarding the dating. Goatskin was a traditional material used in 16th century Venice, and its presence here is consistent with the original historic records. This ambiguity is precisely why we have to look deeper into the internal structure of the binding. This leads us to the paper fiber research. To understand the internal structure of the cover, we took 6 samples, including the flyleaves and internal spine reinforcements. Due to damage, the layered structure of the cover was especially clearly visible. These fiber samples were stained and analyzed under magnification to identify their botanical origin and production process. Our analysis provided the final proof. The flyleaf itself is made of handmade linen paper, which could indeed date back to the 16th century. However, the samples we took from the structural core of the binding, the parts that hold the entire construction together, revealed the presence of conifer cellulose and mechanical wood pulp. As wood pulp paper was not industrially used until the mid-19th century, that proves the entire object was built in the late 19th century. We also examined the flyleaf paper's watermark. It depicts a sphere and a fleur-de-lis. The fleur-de-lis is typically associated with French paper mills, but we didn't find similarities in the databases. The conservation was carried out at the Collection Preservation Center of the National Library of Latvia. Initially, the leather-covered boards were dusty and soiled. The edges of the cover and the spine area exhibited tears and surface abrasions. Losses of the paint layer were visible along the spine and the edges of the boards. The front end paper was also dusty and soiled, with a tear in spine area. The conservation treatment included dry mechanical cleaning of the cover using a soft brush. The front end paper was cleaned with an eraser clamps, and a white brush. The leather was then cleaned with slightly a damp cotton swab. Areas of lifted leather were consolidated using wheat starch paste. Finally, the leather was treated and protected with Renaissance wax. To conclude, this interdisciplinary study has taken us from the initial 16th century hypothesis to a 19th century reality. It demonstrates that while style can be convincingly imitated, material evidence, such as pigments and fibers, ultimately reveals the truth. Visual and contextual analysis showed that the cover imitates the style of Venetian cassette bindings, incorporating polychrome ornamentation, arabesques, and heraldic supralibros, including the emblem of the Lion of Saint Mark and the coat of arms of the Valoroso family. The dating is further supported by the simplified, both in iconography and style, depiction of the Lion of Saint Mark. The assessment of the cover's authenticity highlights the importance of an interdisciplinary approach. In this case, a decisive factor which proved was the identification and analysis of the materials used, and their consistency with those available in the respective historical periods. These criteria are essential for attribution, allowing both authenticity and the date of production to be determined with great accuracy. This research was a true team effort and clearly demonstrates the value of collaboration between conservators, chemists, and archivists. Thank you for your attention. And our thanks to organizers of conference and to the State Culture Capital Foundations for the opportunity to present here. Aite, ačiū, paldies.
Thank you. What a wonderful object, so beautiful. Do we have questions in the hall? There's a hand.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I'm Tulvi Turo from Kanut. I have one question about the surface of the leather. Is the ornamentation made entirely by coloring the surface with paints, or is there any hot pressure or cold pressure techniques on the surface?
It's like mostly three-dimensional, that there are two layers of these cardboards, and then the leather on this cardboard stretched, and paint is just a layer. It's not like dimensional paint.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rene from Pallas, and it was nice binding, but what was inside? I didn't catch.
There was nothing inside.
Sorry. Right. Thank you.
Maybe there was something, but they got this book binding cover only like object of museum. So there is interpretation that maybe it was just cover for documents to change them and to be like prestigious with such a cover.
Hello, I'm Heiti. I also had a question. After you had sort of redated this subject, how did the museum take the news, and how did they rework their exhibition plans? I imagine it was not taken very gladly, this news.
This was bad news. And at the same time, there was an exhibition in museum from this Palazzo Madame from Turin, and at that moment for this exhibition they still exhibited this cover like 16th century, and then after exhibition it became 19th century object.
Thank you.
But it's still a very nice binding of 19th century, and it's still very valuable object of museum. it's still very nice to have such.
I also have a question. You mentioned that you consulted also some Italian colleagues, no? Did I remember right?
The colleagues from library and Palazzo Madama, like for this visible seeing, said that it's 16th century. And then we had conference in Copenhagen in restoration, and I met a specialist who is like working with such sunk panel bindings, and showed this cover photos, and she was afraid about this 19th century copy because of this a little bit different pose of Saint Mark, Lion of Saint Mark. So that was the start when we looked more for this material research. So we consulted with such specialists too.
Thank you.
And if I could say that at this paper analysis, I took samples to laboratory and put under microscope, and then was such, oh, maybe it's some mistake, maybe I forgot, maybe it's not that sample. And but then after looking 3 times, I understood that it's really cellulose from conifer.
Thank you very much. It is a lovely object.
Yes, it's very lovely. That's okay. Thank you.